what does Tomb Raider mean to me? To me, Tomb Raider is like the pure essence of an adventure. Like, I know there are so many adventure games out there and they're all fantastic, but for me, Tomb Raider is the one that if someone says to me, let's go on an adventure, I will think immediately of Tomb Raider 1 on the PlayStation 1, and it also means to me, like, how to be an absolute awesome badass who takes no rubbish from anyone and is just a really strong, confident character who is awesome. Hello, my name is Rosie Caddick, and today I will be talking about what Tomb Raider on the PlayStation 1 means to me. My first impressions of the game were from... I mean, I know this is going to sound really cheesy and cliched, but I could be like... I'm just going to say it's been with me since I can remember. This is because my dad had a couple of PlayStation 1 games kind of when, you know, like your earliest memories that you think about from when you're like young. Mine are just looking at the shelf, and I'll always picture that he had all the ones that we played with him anyway. It was Crash Bandicoot 3, Spyro 3, Tekken 2, and Tomb Raider 1. So this was kind of like how I came to come across Tomb Raider. And I remember being a kid, like, even before I could properly play video games, I just remember looking at the cover and thinking, wow, look at this cover. There's a lady with a green top. That green top's really cool and a big belt buckle. I want that belt buckle and green top and brown shorts. And I remember as well, like, just looking at the font of the text, just, you know, the solid Tomb Raider, not the bottom part that said featuring Lara Croft. I never seemed to look at that bit for some reason. But just the Tomb Raider font and the texture choice and everything for it, I just remember that sticking out so well. And it's really weird. It stuck out amongst the brown tomb background. And then even though the font and the colour was brown, it looked so epic to me, really. So my first impressions were, from the cover anyway, of just wow, this looks like look at this game. I want to be this. I want that green top, basically. I probably first played it when I was 4 or 5 years old, when I was kind of coming to grips with what PlayStation or gaming in general was, because the PlayStation 1 was the first console I ever played. So it was kind of like my gateway to learning how things were. So I first played it when I was, again, like probably 4 years old, and I could comprehend how buttons worked on a PlayStation 1 controller. I would say Tomb Raider actually came at a very significant time in my life, because obviously when you're that young, this was at a point where when you're a kid you start having role models and people who you look up to and heroes. I had some of my friends who loved Spider-Man, Power Rangers. One of my friends was even a huge fan of Basil Brush, and because of that he's always loved foxes. But for me, my sort of like role model and idol was Lara Croft. So it was kind of, she was introduced to me, or the game was introduced to me at a time where I was learning about having an idol, about wanting to be like someone, wanting to be strong and powerful and confident and have these amazing acrobatic skills and like have no fear and things like that. So for example, if there was something that I was maybe a bit afraid of, let's say that I was walking through the woods with my family or something, and if there's like a looming tree or something, as a kid I would be like, no, okay, I am Lara Croft, this is fine, and then I'd run in and like then it'd be absolutely fine, and there was nothing wrong. It was just a creepy looking tree. It's actually reminded me when there was a swimming pool where around like a half an hour drive from where I used to live. And when my mum took us there as a treat, there was like a slide. There was one slide which had like a big shark over it. And the rule was you had to queue like on a set of stairs. But then when you were in, there was some stairs you had to climb in order to reach the top of the shark. And this was like one person at a time could do this. So in order for me to kind of feel as if I used this as an excuse to kind of go on a big adventure, like the swimming pool stairs, which were just like white, pretty much. I used to run up the stairs with like my pistol hands, and up like straight back and everything, as if I was Lara Croft running in the first Tomb Raider. And before you got on the slide, it had like a shark mouth, so it looked like you were getting eaten by the shark. And when I came across the shark, I used to like point at it with my pistol fingers. I used to be like as if I was shooting the shark and going on this big adventure, because when I was younger, and you first see the shark, I think I was probably a bit scared of it, but I just always sort of used it as an excuse to be Lara Croft and take on a big swimming pool slide shark. And I just wanted to be Lara Croft. Honestly, she was such a role model to me. For example, I had a swimming costume, which was kind of like a long piece top and then some shorts. I'm trying. It's hard to describe what it was, but basically, I asked my mum if I could have it because it reminded me of her sort of tracksuit outfit when you're in her mansion in the tutorial. And my mum always knew that if I asked for a certain item of clothing, it was because I wanted to be like Lara Croft. So she always sort of called it my Lara Croft swimming costume, and she still remembers it to this day. And even if I do something that's like sort of adventurous or cool or something, she will still say, "Oh, you're being a little Lara Croft, aren't you?" or something like that. Or she will always refer to Lara Croft. Yeah, so the game did come at a significant point in my life. It came at a point where, yeah, when you want to look up to someone, and I didn't look up to a real person in terms of like being a hero, I looked up to Lara Croft. Even today, I still try and unintentionally dress up like her. I mean, I had like blue trackies, because again, it reminds me of the outfit in Tomb Raider in the Bloomin' Mansion. Oh God, why am I like this? I mean, apart from talking about the cover art, obviously from when you're a kid and you just constantly look at the box, and then you look at the back of the box and there's this odd artifact-looking thing, probably the moment where it clicked was actually, not to sound cheesy or anything, but the menu screen. When you boot it up and then you hear the lovely, soothing music where it's like... And that was terrible. I'm really sorry for your ears. But but just like that moment, and seeing Lara in the background and this weird artifact thing that I had no idea what it was, and you see the passport and the picture of her mansion and things. And that was probably the moment where I was like, oh my God, like I love this music, I love the style of this game already, and I hadn't even played the game yet. And then in terms of me actually like playing the game, the moment that clicked was probably, I mean, I'm gonna have to say like the first level, from like, you know, when you start the game and then it's not like an immediate, you know, standard camera angle. Like it actually looks at Lara. Your focus is purely on her, and as you take your first steps, you don't know what's coming initially. And I always remember like that first corridor with the arrow shooting, and when you're a kid or even in general, you're like, oh my God, arrows, how am I going to avoid these? But really, if you just like jump through them, you're fine. And then you've got you run forward a bit more, and then Lara looks up at the angle and you can see there's a climbing ledge you can take, and then the wolves come at you, and there's bats, and there's things you slide down, and then there's a bear, and just, the essence of adventure in this game is, I love it. And so probably that first level was where it clicked, and then it clicked with me even more when I realized that the picture of the mansion was actually the tutorial level, and I had more of an idea of how to play the game. And I was like, oh my God, this mansion is amazing. Lara Croft has a bike, she has blue gym mats, and she talks to me. Well, like immediately when you start, she's like, hello, welcome to my home. Press the jump button. And then you do that, and then now press it again and face one of the directions, and I'll jump that way, or something like that. And just, and then there was the piano in one of the rooms. No, the harp. It was a harp, I believe, in one of the rooms, and I always wanted to play it. And then you have the crate, the boxes, which you had to climb over, and I always wanted to jump on all of the crates because I just wanted to explore everything about this mansion. And then you had the mini gymnasium where you learn how to jump, and then the swimming pool. And I played that tutorial so much. It's probably the tutorial I've played the most in my life. Just because yeah, when the moment where it clicked, I was like the first level, and yeah, I wasn't like that good at the game at the time, and then when I just did the tutorial and got more of a hang for the controls, then it like fully clicked, and then I was like, oh yes, here we go, now I can at least play past maybe the first level. My favourite thing about the game is, I mean, I've been talking about it a lot, just, casually talking about it, but it has to be the adventure itself, in all honesty. I love the different areas you go through and the variety and the different monsters and creatures you'll be fighting. Like, you start the game and first of all you have a couple of bats, which, ooh, they're creepy. And then the music gets intense and exciting. And as it goes like dun 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 dun, then there's a bunch of wolves coming in, and that's terrifying. And then there's a bear underneath you. And then later on in the game you come across like baby dinosaurs, and then there's a giant T-Rex, which used to terrify me as a kid, and I remember I couldn't pass it for the longest time. In fact, I don't think I passed it for many, many years after I first encountered Lara. And just when I finally, because I just got scared by the T-Rex basically because it was terrifying, and then there's the T-Rex, and then later on in the game, like much later on, you come across these really scary mummy creatures. And I remember first kind of encountering them, and there's some really kind of creepy imagery of like muscles being stretched around, like, artifacts and things like that to kind of make it look more like a mummy-esque kind of thing. And there's one level you start and you just hear this terrifying screech from one of them, and it's so creepy. And then even at one point you've got like a mummified version of Lara who constantly replicates what you're doing, and she looks like a little alien, and it's so creepy, and it's so good. What you do on this adventure, it goes from one extreme to the other, and honestly it's just fantastic. And it's especially great when you because I won't lie, when I was a kid playing this game, I wasn't very good. I didn't even get like past the bit with, it's in the first area, and then you come across the man with the red top, and he's always like, oh, I'll tell you when it's right up your or something, and then Lara just cuts him off. I never kind of got past that bit as a kid, but yeah, like I always used to do the cheats, of course, because with PlayStation 1 games came sometimes a lot of cheat codes, so I always just used to like level skip, and I'd play a bit of the level, and if it was too scary or too hard for me, or I didn't understand what was going on, then I just level skip and go to the next one, because of course that's what you're meant to do. If if the level you're on is too hard, you have to go on to the next level, which is probably harder. So even when you're doing that, like the first couple of moments of each level has, like, one moment you'll be falling into a pit of water, one moment you're starting and you're like just in a cave somewhere, or you're in the mines, or you're falling from somewhere, and you're in like a hallway of creepy mummy things. It's so varied, and the adventure is so fantastic. In all honesty, I couldn't tell you how many times I've played this game because, like I said, I've been playing it since I could first comprehend how buttons worked on a PlayStation 1 controller. I have played it my entire life, just over and over and over again, even if I play like the first world, or, I mean, like I said, when I was a kid, I could not pass the first area, so I would just play the first section again and again, and the tutorial again and again. But in fact, the first time I actually finished the game myself, like, honestly and truthfully, without cheats or anything like that, it was just a solid run through, was probably back, I think, in 2016. I think I just finished Final Fantasy VII, and I thought, you know what, I'm enjoying playing or replaying these classic games on my PS Vita, so I picked up Tomb Raider 1 again, and it was a fantastic time. Like, I played it, because it was on the Vita, it's so much more, it's portable, so I played it when I was visiting my boyfriend who lived in the Netherlands at the time, and so I played it on the plane, at the airport, on the bus. I played it when my mum was like, hey, Rosie, come chill with me for a bit downstairs, and she was watching something on TV that wasn't the most thing wasn't the kind of thing I'd watch, so I just sit there, keep her company, and I'd have Tomb Raider playing. But she was fine with that because my mum also loves Lara Croft, and she loves how much I love Lara Croft. And just playing it fully was a fantastic time, and I was so happy when I finally finished it. It felt like an accomplishment that my younger self could not do. And yeah, and then even since I finished it back in whatever year that was, I still keep on revisit it today because thanks to my work, there are some moments where I need to capture it for a video. I mean, that's the thing, even today, if we're talking about a topic, I will still go, oh my god, there's this fantastic moment in Tomb Raider 1, or hey, you should talk about this that happened in Tomb Raider 1. And then I have to obviously play it to capture that specific section, and so I'm constantly playing it, really. I think the last time I played it was 2 weeks ago, where I had to capture Lara dying on Midas's hand with the golden touch. And I was playing it and I got so many different angles of Lara jumping on that one hand and turning into gold, but I still had a fantastic time with it. I love this game. I love it so much. If there was someone who was never played Tomb Raider before, like I'm not even talking about the new ones, just had never touched the series in general, and they were curious about the first game, I would sell it as being probably like it's a classic on the PlayStation 1. So if you want to revisit any PlayStation 1 gems, then Tomb Raider is just a must. It's a fantastic adventure with a brilliant character who you will feel awesome controlling, and you will honestly just have a brilliant adventure with it. If you want, just sell it as a pitch of like one of the best adventures you can have in games, in my opinion. And then if they have played the newer Lara Crofts, then again, I'll just be like, look, honestly, this is a classic and it's a grand adventure. So, because with the new games as well, they've made Lara a lot more like human, which is also really good. But sometimes you just need to be a badass who is so confident and takes nothing from anyone. You know, when a man says that he's gonna shove it right up your, Lara just cuts him off and she's like, hang on, tell me about this part. Sometimes you just want to be that epic badass. So if I had to pitch this, it's an epic grand adventure on the PlayStation 1 and it's a classic. And that's what Tomb Raider on the PlayStation 1 means to me. In all honesty, I don't even think I've touched the surface of... I could talk about this game just off script for ages, but Tomb Raider on the PlayStation 1 means so much to me, and I adore it to pieces, and yeah, it's helped me become the person who I am today. So thank you, Tomb Raider and Lara Croft, for helping me on my life adventure, teaching me how to be brave and strong in some circumstances, and you mean an awful lot to me, so thank you.